I get this question several times a month from the agents in my office and from other agents as well too. The question is how to do an assignment. I'm not talking about whether you should do an assignment or not. I'll say that for another video. In my opinion, I don't think you should do assignments because it's for tax purposes and all that. Let's go to the office. I'll go through a computer, through the actual forms itself and explain to you line by line how to do an assignment. It's Kenneth Yim. Stay tuned. Oh, by the way, this works for freehold and commercial as well. So not just pre-construction condos, but we'll talk about pre-construction condos because that's what everybody is looking to assign. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my own purchase here. It's a one that I just bought about 6 years ago. It's coming up for occupancy very shortly, and that means I'll get the mortgage soon. So if you want to know the steps of what happens when you buy a pre-construction condo, I'll link another video here somewhere, or you can just reach out to us and I'll send you the video. But essentially, okay, here's the agreement that I bought. So $663,000 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom with parking in the city of Toronto. I know it sounds like a fabulous deal, but this was 5 years ago, and at the time that was pretty expensive. It's probably worth about $1 million now, so we'll use that in our example. Let's say I want to sell it to somebody and I want to assign it to somebody. I'm not actually going to do that, but if in the situation where that was the case, let's just go through that example. So let's go say Mr. James Bond is purchasing it from me as the assignor, and again, it's probably worth about $1 million. And say the standard deposit within acceptance is 5%, so $50,000. And the check will be payable to us as our trust account. And the reason why you want to pay it into a trust account as opposed to paying it directly to the assignor or the seller is because if you do a private deal, let's just say, what happens if the seller just disappears? Right? It's kind of scary in that aspect. So a trust account, and real estate lawyers, or actually all lawyers and real estate agents or brokerages will have a trust account. For real estate brokerages, we're governed by the Real Estate Council of Ontario, or RECO, and that's probably the biggest thing they look out for misuse of trust funds. Now, a trust account is important because of 3 reasons. There's only 3 reasons for the money to be released out of that account. You can't have it unilaterally released. That is, not just one person go in there and just take the money out, right? So if the deal completes and everybody's happy, everybody gets paid, and that's great. If the deal goes south, but then the buyer and seller decide to release each other, maybe there's a penalty, maybe there isn't, then there's a mutual release, and that's a way to get the money out of the trust account. And the third way is that if the courts decide to direct you to release the funds, so that's in a lawsuit, and you probably don't want that. But it just it just protects the money that you put in there, the $50,000, because they're not going to hand it to me without getting the agreement signed, right? So if you notice in here, there's no dates involved at all. It doesn't mention any dates of when the assignment will be closed. However, in Schedule A here, at the very bottom, it says at the top of it, it says that this assignment agreement prior to the assignor, my apologies, let me start over. The assignee will deliver the balance of this payment to the assignor prior to completing this transaction of this agreement of purchase and sale as attached to Schedule C. So that's this guy here. To be held in trusts without interest without interest pending completion or the termination of the agreement of purchase and sale as attached to Schedule C. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. I think what really matters to you is the next part, which is Schedule B. And funny enough, we never had this as when I was first started in the industry about 16 years ago. There was no assignment agreement. We had to rely on lawyers to do it, and a lot of lawyers didn't know what they were doing. But now it's a standard thing. It's a common thing, I should say, and it happens a lot. So if you hop over to Schedule B, you'll see here that it has our names, it has the date, the address once you fill it in. And again, the original purchase price that we talked about, not the original purchase price, the purchase price we talked about is $1 million. Okay, so that's what it is worth today. When I originally bought it, here, let's just put it to side by side. When I originally bought it, it was $663,900. All right. And the deposit that I paid, if you add all these up together, let me get my calculator open. This guy here. If you add all these amounts together, so 5,000 plus a 28,195 plus 33,195 plus another 33,195. So the total is $99,000. That's my original deposit. And here's where everybody gets confused. there's really three sections here. So the third one is as otherwise described in this agreement. So we won't use those. We'll look at the first two options, but basically it says upon acceptance of this assignment agreement and receipt of consent to assign from the original seller, if applicable. Or the second option would be upon final closing of the agreement, purchase and sale of this agreement or assignment of the original purchase and sale. Okay, so say that this person, Mr. Bond, only had $50,000 to put down on his deposit, and that's all he was going to do for his actual down payment. So there's basically a balance of $49,585 if that's the case. Say he was planning to get that remaining balance from the proceeds of a mortgage, then that's when you use section 2 or the second option here. In most cases, it'll probably be the first option where you can come up with this amount on the closing of the assignment agreement, right? So anytime before closing, they pay these funds. So the payment of the assignee to the assignor would basically be, this number 4 is when everybody gets confused, but basically it's number 1 minus 2, which gives you the end profit for this assignment, plus the original deposits paid to the builder. So we'll do that math right now. So $1 million minus 663,900 gives you that for profit, plus the original deposit. I need to get that paid that back. Works out to 435,000. So that's what that number shows up there. And then there's $50,000 in our trust account, so you minus that from the tab. And the remaining balance is $385,000. Hopefully that makes sense to you. It's pretty clear, I think. Ultimately, this has to be paid before closing of the assignment agreement, and you guys should decide that. I would recommend if you go into Schedule A, you actually say when that closing date would be of this assignment agreement, such as this assignment agreement shall be completed upon completion of upon obtaining consent from the vendor, the builder, seller, I don't know what you want to call it, and all monies have been paid, something like that, right? Like maybe just kind of go talk to your legal representative or your salesperson to get the exact wording for this, but you want to have some wording in there to say when this agreement's going to be done. Okay, so if you notice in the agreement in part B here, this $33,000 is due on the closing date, and the closing date as 2A is defined as the occupancy date. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to watch this other video again on what the next steps are for if you bought a pre-construction condo. Anyway, keep in mind that Mr. Bond now is the purchaser and basically crosses out my name and puts Mr. Bond in there. The lawyer will have their own agreement. The lawyer for the vendor, the builder, will have their own agreement, and you'll probably sign that. And then essentially they're responsible for all the obligations that are remaining in this agreement, which is this part here, but they also get assigned this portion here, the amount that I've already paid, because the seller, or the assignee has paid me, the assignor, this total amount here, 435,000, which includes my original deposits. So to get paid that back. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. Visit our website at broadviewavenue.ca and book an appointment to chat, or just give me a call. And yeah, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Talk soon.